This new Rayman game is more than just a remake, and I can tell you this because I was invited to Ubisoft Montpellier to take an early look at Rayman Legends Retold. On May 20th, I got the chance to play the game, talk directly with the developers, and even take part in a few fun side quests along the way. The moment I saw the game for the first time, I had one question that immediately came to my mind. Why exactly remake Rayman Legends? Out of every game in the series, it's probably the one that aged the least. When people talked about the potential Rayman remake, most fans imagined Rayman 2, maybe Rayman 3, not the newest mainline game in the franchise. So at first I was disappointed. As a Rayman fan, I've been waiting for over 13 years for a completely new adventure. So hearing that this new game was another revisit of that era felt like a really strange decision. But the more I've learned about the game, the more I realized that there are some elements that really excited me, because hidden underneath the familiar setting are ideas that feel surprisingly different. Some of them actually feel like a return to older Rayman games, bringing back elements that the series hasn't touched in over 20 years. We had the chance to play several levels from the first two worlds of the game. And to start with the basics, yes, this is very much still a classic Rayman Legends remake. The 5 main worlds from the game are all returning, and from what we have played, they have unchanged level design. If you are a fan of the original levels, you are going to find them here with a new coat of paint. That said, there is quite a lot of new content. The game introduces 4 brand new music levels, the hub from the original game has been completely reworked. Instead of one central tent with different paintings, each world now has its own unique area, custom visuals, hidden secrets and small details to discover before moving from level to level.
10 out of 10.
Dragonflights are probably the biggest new addition. They introduced a new 3D gameplay sequences that immediately reminded me of some of the rideable sections from the older Rayman games, like Sam or Running Shell from Rayman 2. They're designed to connect the different regions of the world together, while offering a different style of gameplay from that traditional 2D look. We were even shown the inspiration of this new gameplay section with a prototype of a 3D Bzid section from over 15 years ago.
It can be cool to have a ride like this with a 3D asset to showcase the world of Rayman. On the ride is part of the DNA of Rayman. You've got ride. In Rayman 1 you've got a mosquito ride. In Rayman 2 you've got the rocket ride with the slam on the water. Rayman 3 board. This one. On the ride one, pretty cool and funky ride. So we decided to make Dragon Ride because it's cool to ride a dragon. And we got a 3D dragon, so it was perfect.
Another major addition is an extended version of the Land of the Living Dead. It almost feels like a completely new world, featuring 5 brand new levels built around a fresh gameplay mechanic called the Power of Light. While all of these additions are exciting, they are not what surprised me the most. The biggest changes for me are happening outside of the gameplay itself. One of the topics that the developers kept coming back to during the event was their desire to give Rayman a much stronger narrative identity. For the first time since Rayman 3, which was more than 20 years ago, the main cast actually interacts with each other. Rayman, Globox, Barbara and Grand Minimus all appear together in the cutscenes, interact with each other, and feel like actual characters and not just avatars jumping from level to level. And maybe the most exciting thing for me, that they are finally voiced. We learn that David Gassman is returning as the voice of Rayman, and somehow Billy West is returning as Murphy. Hearing that honestly felt like getting jumpscared by the possibility of Rayman 4 in the future.
See you in Rayman 4!
The game's soundtrack is also receiving a major expansion. Retold will feature 55 minutes of brand new music composed by Christophe Herral, who we had the pleasure of meeting during our visit to the studio. The music is made alongside Grant Kirkhope, known for his work on the Banjo-Kazooie series and the Mario + Rabbids games. But all of this raises another question. Who is this new villain and why is he being added to Legends? We've already seen him on the cover art and throughout the trailer, yet Ubisoft has remained secretive about his identity. At the moment, we don't know much. He appears to be a small character capable of wielding some kind of dark magic. I think the visuals are going to be one of the biggest selling points of the remake. The first two worlds we saw looked incredible, but what impressed me the most wasn't just the graphical fidelity. More than anything, it was how much more immersive these environments felt compared to the original game. The backgrounds feel alive. The camera constantly finds interesting new angles and it follows the curved environment. And now the world feels far more physical and believable than before. Most levels retain the same visual identity as their original counterpart, with the backgrounds essentially rebuilt in 3D. But in some cases, the developers have gone much further. One of my favorite examples is the Enchanted Forest. While it remains recognizable, the atmosphere has been completely transformed. The level now has this dark, magical nighttime feeling that instantly reminded me of the Fairy Castle from Rayman 3. It feels mysterious and much closer to the kind of fantasy storytelling I associate with the older games. Another standout was the Castle in the Clouds level, which gave strong Studio Ghibli vibes. There's a sense of the scale of their environment that wasn't quite present in the original version. I appreciate how the backgrounds are no longer just pretty scenery. Many of them now include small storytelling details that make the world feel lived in. For example, in one scene, we can see depictions of the old Toad King before the events of Legend, instead of the heavily armored ruler we encounter in the game. He's shown as much slimmer and with respect. It's a tiny detail, but it hints at a larger history behind this location and makes the world feel more connected than before. And that's probably the biggest visual improvement for me. It's not that Retold simply looks prettier than Legends, it feels like a world that exists beyond the levels you're playing. I have a feeling the character designs in this game are going to be one of the most divisive things among the fans. The developers' approach seems to be centered around adding much more detail, texture and physicality to the world in order to make it more immersive. As a result, many of the characters have received subtle but noticeable redesigns. Rayman now has separated eyes, slightly redesigned shoes and tied together hoodie strings. Globox's skin features much more texture and detail, while the Tinsies now have detailed teeth and really big eyes. Out of the entire cast though, I think Barbara has the biggest glow up. The transition to a fully 3D character suits her incredibly well, and honestly, I like this version a lot, even more than the original game. Then there's Betilla, who might end up being the most controversial redesign of them all. After her reinvention in Rayman Origins, she's now been pushed even farther from her original Rayman 1 appearance. In Retold, she's probably the closest any Rayman character has come to look like an actual human. She also appears to be gigantic compared to the rest of the cast. I'm still not completely sold on how she looks in some of the promotional artwork, but at the same time I appreciate that the team is willing to experiment with the art style, even if this interpretation isn't exactly what I imagined. Bubble Dreamer also received a small redesign. He's now wearing glasses and has slightly more eccentric, almost hipster-like appearance. In several dialogue scenes, he's accompanied by a bird companion that seems to play some kind of a role in the story, although we still don't know much about it yet. Something that I noticed is that even when the redesigns don't fully land for me, they usually feel like a deliberate creative choice. I don't know if the fans end up loving them or hating them, but I don't think many people are going to be indifferent. From what I understand, with Rayman Legends Retold, the devs aim to retool the Rayman universe in a way to create possibilities for more focused and immersive storytelling with this new world map. It includes locations from Rayman Legends with their brand new names and, to my surprise, locations from the previous games. This isn't the first world map that the series introduced. We of course had the one in Rayman 1, Rayman 2 and Rayman Origins. We can see that the placement of these locations is different, and the interesting thing for me is that the Rayman Legends locations are now treated as real places in the Rayman world instead of the paintings to which Rayman and his friends were teleported to.
Can we take some extra?
I also had the chance to take a tour of the studio floor, where we were shown some really cool things that unfortunately I can't show you yet. One of the interesting things was seeing how UbiArt and Snowdrop work together. We were shown a slider that was showing UbiArt characters moving in the 2D space and then transforming into 3D environment in Snowdrop. It was impressive to see the movement and gameplay feel remained exactly the same as the original, while the 3D visuals were running on top of it. We were also given a look behind the scenes at the character creation process, which was awesome to see. Later, myself, Rayman Together, and Rayman for Smash got to play the game together. We were eventually joined by Barbara herself, and the developers gave us a few fun challenges to complete while playing. We also took part in a drawing workshop with artists from Ubisoft Milan, including some that have worked on the franchise since the Game Boy Color era. Of course, we also took some photos with the giant dragon statue. And, at the end of the day, we were invited to a special Kung Fu tournament, which turned out to be a lot of fun. Multiple teams completed for custom trophies, and I didn't expect people to become so invested in this mode. As the matches went on, players started developing strategies, coordinating passes, and coming up with different ways to score goals. Everyone also received custom Rayman Legends Retold jerseys. The event was filled with Rayman-themed details, from pillows to cups to napkins and decorations. It was clear that a lot of effort was put in this event to make it feel special. And that was my experience with Rayman Legends Retold at Ubisoft Montpellier. Coming into this, I was expecting just a visual upgrade of the game I already knew. But what I saw instead was something that feels like it's trying to rethink the franchise in a way that reminds me of the older games. With new narrative and artistic direction, I'm more excited into this than I originally thought I would be. There are still a lot of questions and a lot of things I only got to see briefly. If you are a Rayman fan and you want to revisit the original game and discover a new story, this is going to be a pretty fun game. I will definitely be keeping an eye on it. Thanks for watching.